In July 2017, just days before Kenya's general election, a senior electoral official disappeared. His body was later found in what would become one of the most shocking political deaths in the country's history. Nearly a decade later, many questions still linger. This is the untold case of Chris Msando. Chris Msando was the acting ICT manager at the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, commonly known as IEBC. In 2017, Kenya was preparing for one of its most competitive elections. Technology was at the center of the process. Msando was responsible for overseeing the electronic transmission of results, a system designed to improve transparency and prevent vote tampering. Just days before the election, he publicly stated that the system had been tested, secured, and could not be hacked. Those words would later take on a haunting significance. On July 28, 2017, Chris Msando was reported missing. Colleagues and family members grew concerned after they could not reach him. The country was only days away from the August 8th general election. Tension was already high. 2 days later, on July 31st, his body was discovered in a forested area outside Nairobi. The news sent shockwaves across Kenya. Political leaders from across the divide condemned the killing. Civil society groups demanded answers. Religious leaders called for calm. Msando's funeral was emotional and heavily attended. His widow publicly asked for justice, urging authorities to uncover the truth behind his death. The timing, just 1 week before a general election, intensified public concern. Authorities launched an investigation. Several suspects were later arrested and charged in connection with the case. Court proceedings followed, and the matter moved through the judicial system. However, as with many complex criminal investigations, the legal process has faced delays over the years. Updates have been limited, and the case has not reached a widely publicized conclusion. For many Kenyans, the central question remained: was this an isolated criminal act? Or was there a deeper motive connected to the election? No official report has conclusively tied the incident to election interference, and speculation without evidence remains just that. Speculation. The August 8th election proceeded as planned. However, the presidential results were later challenged in court. In a historic decision, Kenya's Supreme Court nullified the election and ordered a repeat presidential vote. While the nullification was based on procedural issues, the shadow of Msando's death continued to loom over public discourse. Trust in institutions became a national conversation. Technology, transparency, and electoral integrity were debated intensely. Nearly years later, many Kenyans still ask, was enough done to protect key officials? Has justice fully been served? What lessons were learned? It is important to separate fact from assumption. What is confirmed: Chris Msando was a senior ICT official. He disappeared days before a major election. He was found dead. Suspects were arrested and charged. Court proceedings followed. Beyond that, conclusions must rest with the legal system. Some cases dominate headlines for weeks, then slowly fade. But the questions they raise about security, transparency, and accountability do not disappear. The untold case of Chris Msando remains a powerful reminder of how fragile trust can be, especially during moments that shape a nation's future. And until every question finds a clear answer, the story continues to echo.